How to never get angry or bothered by anyone. Introduction. The silent power of emotional control. Anger does not arrive suddenly. It is invited. It is welcomed the moment you decide that someone else's behavior deserves control over your inner state. Most people never realize this. They believe anger is something that happens to them. In truth, anger is something they allow. This script is not about suppressing emotions or pretending you don't feel anything. That is weakness disguised as control. True emotional mastery is different. It is the ability to feel without reacting, to observe without being consumed, and to remain calm while others lose themselves in noise. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you always have the power to remove your opinion about something, and with that, the disturbance disappears. Not because the world changed, but because you did. If you master what you are about to learn, people will notice something strange about you. Insults will fall flat. Provocation will fail. Drama will starve in your presence. You will not need to prove strength. Your calm will do it for you. This is how you never get angry or bothered by anyone. No human being has the power to inject anger directly into your mind. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, because it removes the comfort of blaming others for how you feel. People can speak carelessly, act selfishly, or behave disrespectfully, but anger only appears after your mind assigns meaning to what happened. Think about it carefully. Two people can experience the exact same situation. One remains calm, the other becomes furious. The external event was identical. The internal interpretation was not. This proves something important. Anger is not caused by events, but by judgments. The Stoics were very clear on this. They taught that events are neutral by nature. It is the label you attach, unfair, disrespectful, unacceptable, that creates emotional disturbance. The moment you say, "This should not have happened to me," your mind moves into resistance. Resistance is where anger lives. When you begin to see this, you gain power. Instead of reacting automatically, you start observing your thoughts. You notice the story forming in your mind, and you interrupt it. You ask yourself whether this situation is truly harmful or merely uncomfortable to your ego. This shift takes practice. Your mind has been trained for years to react instantly, but every time you pause and question your interpretation, you weaken anger's grip. Over time, clarity replaces exaggeration, calm replaces chaos, and you realize something deeply freeing. Nothing outside of you controls your emotional state unless you allow it. Ego is the hidden engine behind most anger. When you look closely, anger is rarely about what was said or done. It is about what your ego believes it means. Ego wants respect, validation, recognition, and control. When any of these feel threatened, anger appears. The ego tells convincing lies. It says, "They disrespected me, so I must respond." It says, "If I stay silent, I look weak." It says, "I can't let this slide." But these thoughts are not truth. They are emotional reflexes built from insecurity. The Stoic mindset cuts through this illusion. Other people's words and actions are not measurements of your worth. They are expressions of their inner state. When someone insults you, it says more about their character than yours. When someone tries to provoke you, it reveals their need for control. Ask yourself honestly in moments of anger, what part of my ego is being touched right now? Often, simply recognizing this dissolves the emotion. You realize that nothing real is being threatened, only an image you are trying to protect. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people act out of ignorance, fear, and pain. When you truly understand this, anger begins to feel unnecessary. You stop taking things personally. You stop defending an ego that doesn't need defense. And with that detachment, the trigger loses its power completely. This idea may sound harsh at first, but it is rooted in awareness, not superiority. Most people live on autopilot. They react emotionally, speak impulsively, and project their inner stress onto others without realizing it. When someone lashes out, interrupts you, insults you, or behaves rudely, it is rarely a calculated attack. It is usually an unconscious emotional release. They are acting from habit, not intention. From conditioning, not awareness. Getting angry at such behavior is like shouting at a storm. The storm does not hear you, and it does not change because of your frustration. All you do is exhaust yourself. The Stoic observes, instead of reacts. Raised voices become signs of inner turmoil. Insults become evidence of insecurity. Provocation becomes a signal of emotional imbalance. When you see behavior as information rather than offense, your emotional response changes. This perspective creates distance between you and the situation. You stop absorbing other people's chaos. Curiosity replaces irritation. Understanding replaces anger. You do not fight unconsciousness. You step aside from it. You protect your peace by refusing to engage with noise. Like sheltering from bad weather, you let the storm pass without stepping into it. This is the most practical skill you will ever develop for emotional control. Every emotional reaction follows the same pattern: trigger, interpretation, response. Most people skip directly from trigger to response without awareness. That is where anger lives. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a small space. In that space lies your freedom. The Stoics believed this pause is what separates the wise from the reactive. Without it, you are controlled by impulse. Training the pause means deliberately slowing yourself down the moment you feel emotional tension rising. When something irritates you, do not speak immediately. Do not explain. Do not defend. Instead, breathe once slowly and deeply. This simple act signals your nervous system to calm down. Anger needs momentum to survive. Silence removes that momentum. When you pause, the emotional wave begins to lose strength. Thoughts that felt urgent suddenly seem unnecessary. Epictetus taught that events themselves are powerless. It is our judgment that creates disturbance. The pause allows judgment to dissolve before it becomes emotion. With repetition, this pause becomes automatic. You stop reacting on impulse. You respond with intention. And over time, calm becomes your default state, rather than something you force. A large portion of anger comes from one hidden desire: control. You expect people to understand you, respect you, behave maturely, or meet your standards. When they don't, frustration appears. But beneath that frustration is a false belief that you were ever in control of them. Stoicism teaches a hard but liberating truth. You cannot control other people. You never could. Their behavior, emotions, and choices belong to them alone. The moment you expect otherwise, you create the conditions for anger. When someone disappoints you, your anger is often a protest against reality. You are mentally saying, they should be different. But reality does not negotiate. Fighting it only exhausts you. The Stoic shifts focus inward. Instead of asking, why are they like this? You ask, how will I respond with character? This shift is powerful. You stop wasting energy trying to fix, correct, or manage others. Control what is actually yours: your reactions, your values, your boundaries. When you master yourself, other people lose their emotional leverage over you. This acceptance is not passive, it is disciplined realism. And from it comes a calm that cannot be shaken by other people's behavior. Most conflicts are not about truth or justice. They are about ego. The desire to win an argument, to prove someone wrong, or to feel superior fuels unnecessary emotional battles. In moments of tension, pause and ask yourself a simple question: do I want peace, or do I want to win? This question exposes your true motive. Winning may feel satisfying in the moment, but it comes at a cost. It drains your energy, damages relationships, and keeps your mind restless. Peace, on the other hand, preserves your dignity and emotional stability. The Stoic understands that silence can be more powerful than explanation. Walking away is not weakness, it is self-mastery. People who constantly need the last word are controlled by insecurity. Those who can remain calm and disengage control themselves. By choosing peace repeatedly, you train your mind to value long-term calm over short-term ego gratification. This habit reshapes how you respond to conflict and slowly removes anger from your life. Every difficult interaction is an opportunity to strengthen your emotional discipline. Insults, provocation, and disrespect are not inherently personal attacks. They are challenges for your mind to practice calm and restraint. The Stoics believed that obstacles exist to train virtue. When someone attempts to provoke you, instead of reacting, consider it a deliberate chance to develop patience. Ask yourself, how can I remain composed and unshaken in this moment? This mindset transforms the experience. What once sparked anger now becomes a test of your self-control. Each insult or challenge is reframed as a lesson, teaching you to remain centered regardless of external circumstances. Reframing requires consistent mental practice. When someone behaves poorly, remind yourself that their actions reflect their inner state, not yours. They are teaching you through contrast what not to become. Over time, this habit strengthens your inner fortitude. Anger diminishes because your focus shifts from the external provocation to your internal mastery. You begin to respond with awareness, rather than reflex, and your calm becomes a visible force that others unconsciously recognize. By seeing every insult as training, you convert potential emotional turmoil into an exercise of wisdom and self-control. This approach does not suppress emotion, it redirects it, turning friction into growth and difficulty into practice. Through deliberate reframing, you cultivate the unbothered mind. You begin to anticipate challenges as opportunities rather than threats, and your presence radiates steady, unwavering peace. Not everyone deserves access to your emotional world. Constant exposure to negativity, conflict, or emotional manipulation can gradually erode your inner peace. Protecting your mental space is not weakness. It is an act of disciplined self-respect. Stoicism teaches that wisdom involves knowing where to invest your energy. By limiting interactions with individuals who consistently provoke, frustrate, or drain you, you create a buffer that shields your mind from unnecessary agitation. Setting boundaries does not mean avoiding life or becoming indifferent to others. It means discerning which relationships and environments support your well-being and which threaten it. Reduce exposure to toxicity, disengage from habitual drama, and choose moments of solitude to recharge and reflect. When you consciously manage your environment, peace becomes easier to maintain. You are less likely to absorb others' emotional turbulence and more capable of responding calmly when challenges arise. This practice of lowering emotional exposure is an exercise in self. It strengthens your ability to remain centered, reinforces your resilience, and makes your calm more consistent and visible to the world. By protecting your mental and emotional space, you cultivate a life where tranquility is the default state. Over time, you will notice that the less you engage with unnecessary negativity, the less reactive you become, and the more your inner peace becomes unshakable and natural. Your inner dialogue is one of the most powerful tools for controlling anger and maintaining calm. Every thought you allow after a provocation can either amplify irritation or diffuse it. Learning to guide your self-talk gives you control over the root cause of emotional reactions. Anger often escalates when we narrate events internally with exaggeration. This is unbearable. They're intentionally disrespecting me, or I can't tolerate this. Such thoughts activate your nervous system and feed the emotional fire. The Stoics trained themselves to replace reactive, judgmental thoughts with rational and neutral observations. Instead of thinking, "This is intolerable," you might tell yourself, "This is temporary and external. I can remain steady." Instead of, "They are against me," you could think, "Their behavior reflects their state, not my worth." By deliberately restructuring your inner dialogue, you prevent anger from taking root. Self-talk acts as a filter, separating facts from judgments, allowing you to respond intentionally rather than reflexively. Consistent practice turns calm reasoning into a habit. You become less swayed by insults, provocations, or frustrations. Your inner voice becomes a steady guide, reminding you that you control your perception and, consequently, your emotional state. Mastering self-talk is not about suppressing feelings, it's about directing them wisely. Each deliberate, reflective thought reinforces resilience, strengthens patience, and transforms potential triggers into opportunities for calm reflection. Over time, your inner dialogue naturally defaults to calm, and your presence radiates steady composure. Even amidst chaos, by training your self-talk, you cultivate an unshakable mind, able to navigate conflict with clarity, dignity, and emotional freedom. One of the most liberating realizations in life is understanding that most events are not about you. People act based on their own fears, insecurities, conditioning, and personal struggles. Their behavior reflects their state of mind, not your worth or value. When you stop personalizing events, anger loses its foundation. You begin to see insults, criticism, and provocations as reflections of others' inner worlds rather than attacks on your character. This perspective creates emotional distance and allows you to respond with calm and clarity. Stoicism teaches that events themselves are neutral. It is our judgments about them that create disturbance. Accepting this principle allows you to maintain composure, even when others behave poorly or unpredictably. By viewing life objectively, you protect your peace of mind. You stop absorbing negativity unnecessarily and develop the capacity to remain centered amidst chaos. Emotional freedom emerges when you recognize that most conflicts are not personal. They are simply the result of human nature. This mindset transforms how you experience daily life. You become less reactive, more resilient, and better equipped to handle challenges without being emotionally overwhelmed. Situations that once triggered frustration now pass without leaving a lasting impact. As you internalize this understanding, your calm becomes more consistent, and your presence more serene. The world feels quieter, and your mind becomes lighter. Accepting that life is not personal is a cornerstone of emotional mastery, enabling you to navigate life with dignity, clarity, and unshakable inner peace. Anger is never a sign of strength. Control is. The individual who remains calm amidst chaos holds a power that is invisible but unshakable. Mastering this state is not instantaneous. It requires consistent practice, awareness, and the deliberate choice to respond with composure rather than reaction. By observing your thoughts, detaching your ego, and training your self-talk, you build an internal fortress where external events cannot intrude. The pause between stimulus and response becomes your greatest ally, and boundaries safeguard your peace. Challenges, insults, and provocation are reframed as exercises in patience and resilience, transforming potential triggers into opportunities for growth. Accepting that life is not personal frees you from unnecessary emotional burden. Recognizing that most people act unconsciously allows you to navigate interactions without being emotionally hijacked. Your calm becomes habitual, your presence commanding, and your inner peace impervious. Ultimately, the unbothered mind is the strongest mind. It does not need to fight, prove, or dominate. It simply exists in clarity.com and unshakable strength. Apply these Stoic principles consistently, and you will cultivate a life where anger no longer controls you, and where your inner serenity guides every thought, word, and action.